Hey y'all, Farmer Dre back at it. Today, I'm gonna talk about the 5 biggest mistakes when growing strawberries. So before we get started in today's video, I just wanna let you guys know, these are the biggest things that I've learned growing strawberries this year. As you guys know, this is my first year ever growing strawberries. We planted 10,000 strawberries last fall as a trial. We are mainly an apple and peach orchard. Then we dabble a little in tomatoes, and now we do blueberries, blackberries, and now we are doing strawberries. So, you know, you never know until you try. That's what I keep telling myself. So 10,000 was sure a learning curve for me. So let's go ahead and get started in today's video. So I'm gonna go ahead and start from the top and work to way, start from the fall and then work my way into the spring. So whenever we first planted these, it was hot, it was warm, it was September. I started working on the soil about the middle of September. And before this, every time we've worked up soil, I've only used a disc instead of a plow. So I went ahead and just disced this. And the disc only does about 3 to 4 inches. The soil makes it all nice and ready to go. So I did that, and then we got the a Rainflow 2500 or 2550 from our neighbor. And we used that to make the raised beds. And the first biggest mistake I did is I didn't deep plow this soil right here. And the reason you want to deep plow the soil is so that you have enough soil to make the raised bed and to have enough soil to go ahead and cover up that plastic whenever you are using that mulch layer. So us not doing that, or me not doing that, it affected the plastic before we even got started. I remember after we got done laying plastic, we got about a 10-20 mile an hour windstorm come through, and some of the rows, the plastic came off of it, and I didn't even think about that, how that's gonna affect my crop. So the way that affected my crop is whenever it got cold and the plants went into dormancy, we went ahead and threw the row covers on top. And we got a big windstorm that came through, about 30 mile an hour winds, and it lifted up the row covers. So the plants and the plastic was open to the elements, and that windstorm came through and ripped about 50 to 60% of all my plastic up off of the raised beds and through the plants. And quickly after we took off the row covers, then we put them back, but the plants didn't like being disturbed that way, so that kind of affected my yield. And whenever we were out there picking, it was really noticeable, the plants that got damaged from the wind with the plastic and the plants that didn't. So then that's a whole entire thing I learned about the plastic and the soil and getting all that ready. So now we actually purchased our own mulch layer. It's a Rainflow 2600 model. So this mulch layer that we have now makes a 9-inch raised bed, and it lays a 5-foot plastic. So hopefully next year, I'm gonna go ahead and deep plow it, make a 9-inch raised bed, and use a 5-foot plastic. The reason you wanna use a 5-foot plastic for strawberries is it gives more room for the plastic to be covered up by the soil. So then another thing that I learned this year is you want to go ahead and amend the soil before you even do anything to the field. And as you guys know, we went ahead and put on 7 pounds of actual nitrogen to the acre every week, 3 weeks in the fall and then every week after February. The reason you want to amend the soil before is you want to put about 60 to 70 pounds of fertilizer and nitrogen before you plant, so that whenever you do plant, the plant has the fertilizer available right then and there. And trust me, feeding 70 pounds to the drip irrigation is possible. It will be a lot more work, and it just takes a lot longer time to do that. So another thing that I learned this season is you want to go ahead and, after you lay down the plastic before you plant, you want to go ahead and broadcast your crop that you want to grow in between the rows. Like right here, I went ahead and planted some annual ryegrass, but I did this, this spring, and this was a big mistake on my part. I didn't think that the ryegrass seed will get next to the plant. So as you guys can see here, this is a field of ryegrass and strawberries mixed. So what happened here, the seeds got into the hole through the plastic where the strawberry plant is. It went ahead and germinated, and as you guys can see back here, it is just a big mess, especially up in that area. It's just a ryegrass strawberry mess out here. So what you want to do is, after you get done laying plastic before you plant, is you go ahead and broadcast the annual rye or any, even winter wheat or anything like that. Just a grass-based cover crop in between the rows. You want to do that after you get done laying plastic, and then you want to go ahead with the hand blower or backpack blower and kind of blow that seed off the top of that plastic, and then you go through and plant. And the reason you want something in between the rows is it creates a nice mat for, even your employees, or if you're on a U-pick operation, it just creates a nice mat so it won't be as muddy. First of all, if you do get a lot of rain, and generally here in Southwest Missouri, we do get a lot of rain during the spring season. So first of all, it helps out with that, and then it helps with soil erosion, and there's, quite a bit more factors that go into that. But let me go ahead and show you guys what I'm talking about here. So I went ahead and sowed it, and this is where it didn't germinate because it was too wet. So we have sitting water next to a mucky mess here, and then of course you got your plantains that germinated, and then I got my ryegrass next to the plants there. So that's the reason, it just gives your employees or your customers a nice mat to work in, to go through and pick, and it even makes the strawberry patch even, just more convenient and more comfortable for your employees and customers. So for the ones that are wondering, I am going to do a complete video on how the strawberries did, the yield, the numbers that I got off the strawberry, these 10,000 plants. But one other thing that I learned is your fungicide applications. And, that's something that, I kind of knew in the back of my head that needed to be done, but I didn't know how critical it is for strawberry production. And if you're out here in the Midwest, we're in Southwest Missouri, we get a lot of rain, and with that lot of rain, we get a lot of humidity, and that just opens up the door for the botrytis and anthracnose to thrive. So you got to stay on top of that. And for here in the Midwest, we follow the Midwest fruit spray guide, but make sure you look in your local area, see what your local extension agents are doing and what they recommend for those different types of diseases and fungal applications you got to put. I could go ahead and recommend and say what we used, but the stuff that we use may not apply to you. And just check with your extension experts or your spray guide to know exactly what to spray. And all I can say is that if you see the problem, you're already a day too late. The nice thing about growing strawberries is you're not going to have much insect pressure. For us in our area, the plants started blooming about the middle of March to the end of March, and then they bloomed through the whole month of April. And then I picked our first strawberry here about April 19th. We came through and did our first harvest. There's an airplane flying up that thing. Sorry if you can't hear. So we picked our first harvest April 28th, and that's when we went ahead and first started. So generally that time of year, we do not have any insect pressure. So, you could say that you don't spray any insecticides, but if you don't stay on top of your fungicide application, then you will, you can pretty much lose your whole crop to that different disease. It's, it just comes through. If one berry is affected, then affects the next one, just keeps on going. And if you don't stay on top of things, it could get ugly fast. Another thing that I learned, and this has to go back whenever you're planning out your field, you got to focus on, if you're going to sell your strawberries you pick, or, if you're going to pick them for the customers, and then kind of like a pre-picked, or if you're doing any type of wholesaling. One thing you want to start thinking about is your row spacing. I did a 5-foot center, a 60-inch center from center to the bed to center of the bed. And I learned really, really fast that is just too tight for our farm. And we still have our big tractor that we spray the orchard with. It's a New Holland 100A tractor. And it's 100 horse, big tires. It's mainly used for spraying the orchard and mowing the orchard. And that tractor is just too big to fit in between the rows. And I wish I knew this way before. The row spacing was just too tight, and it was hard getting up and down there. I couldn't come through and spray with the big tractor or anything like that. It was just a big mess. So hopefully this year or this fall, we're gonna go ahead and do 72 inches, or do 6 foot to center, or even 84. We might do even 7 foot center to center, just to give us a little more time, a little more space in between the rows to actually grow the crop. So another thing that I learned fast is that you need a lot of help picking the crop off of the field. We were pretty fortunate that this whole coronavirus came through, and we were all home quarantined, and we had pretty much our whole family out here picking. But let's say in a normal year where you don't, whenever you're doing everything pre-picked and pre-sold, you got to hire at least a few good helpers to be out here helping. You you could pay someone by the hour, but they're just gonna run ahead and, you know, just milk the time, milk the clock. But then again, you could pay someone by the pound, and they're just gonna pick everything that they see just to fill up the boxes. And, you know, they could be good, soft, green, it doesn't matter. They're just gonna run ahead and, you know, pick it and just put it in the box so that they could get paid. You know, and one thing that I learned quickly is you get what you pay for. So if you're wanting just to pay someone a minimum wage, you're probably gonna do a pretty, you know, trashy job. But if you're willing to pay someone really well, and, you know, they're gonna do, you know, for every dollar that you pay them, it's gonna be worth the cost. So another thing is good help. Alrighty, so, you know, there's a whole bunch of things that, you know, I learned during this growing season, during this growing process of strawberries. But as you can see here, it is getting dark. It is after a busy work day. So this is gonna be pretty much it for today. If you guys haven't already, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, go and smash that like button if you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to hit that notification icon so you guys can be notified whenever I do upload a video. I want to say thanks for watching up to this point. You guys have a good day. We'll see you next time.